It's Thursday, and that means your Metroland newspaper is at your door, regardless where you are in the Halton region. But today, we're talking about the Flamborough Review. It's a big year for the Flamborough Review.
It is a big year. We turn 100 this year. We published our first paper in the spring of 1918.
And today you have several old papers here, starting with 1920, so a couple years after your first edition.
We do. This 1920 edition is the oldest one we were able to get our hands on. It's fascinating in that back then, all the type was hand set into metal presses. So each of these words was set letter by letter by letter.
Imagine
it's
the work
incredible.
that went into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we only had, I keep saying we, I wasn't around 100 years ago. They only had 12 subscribers for their first edition, but a local doctor did order 50 copies of the first edition to mail over to the troops fighting World War I overseas, so they could be connected still to the community.
Wow, that's impressive. And it was called the Waterdown Review back then.
It was the Waterdown Review. It changed its name to the Flamborough Review in 1977 when Waterdown, East and West Flamborough, and Beverly Township were amalgamated. So the name was changed to recognize that we covered news from all of those communities.
And you were able to bring in a paper from the 60s here, showcasing those classic cars.
They are pretty sporty.
Did you go through these and add some of the history into the paper that came out today?
We did. We were very lucky in that we were able to talk to members of one of the families that had owned the paper for quite some time, the Valinga Bosvelds. We sat down with Cal and Ken Bosveld and had a great discussion about how the family ran the paper and some of the stories about being in the newspaper business in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It was a fantastic interview.
And what about with the founder of the town?
Arthur Brown. Arthur and his wife Marin. Arthur bought the first purchase in town, but Arthur and his wife obviously eventually died. It's 100 years ago. And their tombstones were eventually donated to the local archives, our town archives, Flamborough Archives, housed in the library. Apparently when they moved the tombstones in, a ghost moved in with them and likes to ride the elevator. So the elevator goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and nobody knows why.
So it's one of the fascinating stories that comes with the history here.
It is.
And it's not only history that's in our new paper today. You have some new updates that you wanted to share.
We do. We've got some current local news as well. The YWCA of Hamilton's Women of Distinction Awards is happening, and we have two local nominees. Dr. Karen Bird, chair of McMaster's Department of Political Science, grew up locally, worked with the YWCA on the Accelerator Report, which assists them in advocating for gender-neutral changes in delivery of community services. So that's a fantastic nomination. Local businesswoman Sarah Sodoni, she started her dance school years ago in Waterdown, 2 rooms, over a car wash, 50 students, and now she's got a 20,000 square foot facility.
Wow.
And 1,500 students. So it's a great example of how you can grow with a community and invest in a community, and it's just a fantastic local story.
It is, and you have sports in this edition as well.
We do. Danny Sivert, who played 59 games in the NHL, 800 professional games overall. He was with the Oilers, the Anaheim Ducks, the Philadelphia Flyers. He announced that he was retiring, so we've got a profile of him. He grew up in Millgrove, one of the villages that we service, and that's a great interview as well.
Well, great. Thank you so much. Those stories will all be in your paper. You can check it out, and you can contact the Flamborough Review using their website. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.